If you want to make your Chromebook to last longer, then this video is for you. So today I'm going to show you some tips you can do to save battery power and make your Chromebook more efficient, and hopefully you can get extra few hours of Chromebook, and maybe it will also prolong the battery lifespan. So let's start with the first thing that you can do. The first thing that you can do is you can reduce the brightness level of the screen, and I think that is one among many biggest offenders of the battery consumption. So as it turns out, a brighter screen is going to take a lot of power from your device, and I think it is better to just use the bare minimum, at least to the level that is enough for you to read the content. Now in order to reduce the brightness, you can click on the clock icon at the bottom right corner of the screen, and here there's this sun icon, and this is actually a slider where you can set the brightness level of your screen, and you can click and then drag it to the left to make it darker, or drag it to the right to make it more brighter. But keep in mind, if you put it to maximum, it's going to drain a lot of power from your device. So maybe you want to keep it to, I guess, 20-30%, and it really depends on the device. It also depends on the screen protector that you might be using, screen filter, and also the ambient light where you're working or using the Chromebook. So I cannot really tell what is the appropriate amount, but I think just to set it a bit darker and try to control your lighting, the surrounding lighting, so you can set this lighting on your Chromebook to be minimum. So that was the first tip. The second tip that you can do is you can enable automatic sleep on your Chromebook, especially when you're not using it. So there is a feature in Chromebook that lets you put the device to the sleep mode, or maybe turn off the screen only if you're not using it for, let's say, a few minutes. And in order to access that setting, you can go to the launcher menu, click settings, and scroll down, click system preferences, go to power, and these two are the settings that we want to change. So right now I set it to turn off the display. So basically, if I'm not using the device for a few minutes, I forgot the amount of minutes until this feature will be activated, but as far as I know, it's probably around 5 minutes, and it will turn my display to be off, but the device itself is still running. So I think it's still saving power, but if you want to save even more power, then you can enable the sleep mode, and basically it will turn to sleep every time you're not using the Chromebook for a while, maybe for 5 to 10 minutes, and it will turn into this sleep mode. So that's another thing that you can do. Anyway, another thing that you can do to save battery power is basically just to be mindful when using the device itself. If you're running maybe multiple apps, if you love multitasking, then at least reduce the amount of apps that you are opening at the same time. And when it comes to browser, I think it's better to just use an extension called One Tab. So that extension allows you to temporarily save all the pages that you have opened on the device, and maybe you want to open it later, and it will turn multiple apps into just a single tab that contains all the information or all the names and the URL of the links that you just opened before. This is just one way to reduce the resources used by the device. And speaking about extension, I think it is also a great thing to mention about managing the extension, and you want to maybe disable and also remove some extensions that you no longer need it. You can click the disable button right here, and it will basically stop the extension from running. It is still there in case you want to use it. You can always go back and enable the extension, and I think this is probably the better choice than removing the extension right away, because there are some extensions that you might want to use, although not very often. So disabling the extension is probably the better choice for this use case. So after that, you can also play around with basically ending the processes that are not needed on your device. So you can go to the menu and go to more tools, and then open Task Manager. This is where you can see a lot of things that's happening in your device, and even though this is actually a Chrome feature, but since Google Chrome and Chrome OS are pretty much related, it will also display everything beyond just the tabs that are opening in Google Chrome, and you can definitely control other apps that you got from Play Store right from here. You can just end the process right away using the Task Manager feature. So right now I will try to remove or stop the process of this browser tab. I'm going to click End Process, and now the tab is basically disabled. You can see that there is an error message because Chrome OS just killed this process because I just end the process from the Task Manager feature. So that's one thing that you can do. You can try to reduce as many processes as possible to make the device run a bit lighter and therefore consume less power. So that was one thing, but there's another thing that you can do to make your Chromebook consume less power, which is by enabling the power saver feature or the battery saver feature. You can go to the launcher menu and navigate to settings, and after that you can go to system preferences and then go to power, and then here you can see there's a battery saver. I forgot to mention that before. So basically you can enable this feature, and what's going to happen, it's going to reduce the activity, the background activity like notification, visual effects, animations. And I think overall this is actually a good thing to enable, because in theory by just enabling this feature you can get 1 or 2 hours extra from your Chromebook. And I think that's a very useful thing, especially if you don't have access to recharge your device. So I definitely recommend to just enable this feature right away. So another thing that you can do is, maybe not for everyone, but you can definitely just use the guest mode. So right now I'm signed into my Chromebook device, but if you just want to do some light tasks like maybe reading and you're not planning to do any work, then I do recommend to just sign out and then use the guest mode. So the guest mode is really just a trimmed down version of Chromebook, and it got some basic features, but the background activity is not as demanding as the regular normal mode where you sign into your Google account. So I think the last method that I do recommend is just to use the guest mode whenever it is possible. So those are some things you can do to save battery on your Chromebook device, and hopefully you can squeeze 2 or maybe 3 hours of the battery availability, so you can use it for longer. Anyway, if you find this video to be helpful, then please consider subscribing to this channel, and I'll see you on the next video.